Hi, welcome along to another video. In the information section of this video you will find the links to the articles featured. This week I'm going to take a look at an article in the Guardian newspaper from the UK mainstream media. Headline of the article: Make It Rain. US states embrace cloud seeding to try to conquer drought. So for those of you that don't know, the Guardian newspaper is connected to the Gates Foundation. They regularly feature articles from the Gates Foundation. You'll remember from a couple of months ago, for example, regarding geoengineering, Bill Gates came out into the public spotlight to have a chat on American news shows to do with the geoengineering plans in Sweden this summer. For example, I've covered this before, Gates has been popular target of conspiracy theories, and the SCOPEX project, where the denials from Gates comes in. While it is true that Gates has financially backed research programs that includes theoretical studies into the feasibility of solar radiation management, and SCOPEX is among those projects, it is a mischaracterization to suggest that SCOPEX plans to test this form of geoengineering as a tool and its main objective is climate intervention, or that SCOPEX itself could have implications on the global climate system. You'll remember Gates denied that anything would be affected, etc. And yet we see in the Times recently, Bill Gates backs bid to cool Earth with chalk dust. This is from March 23rd, so a good couple of months after the denials were there, when the publicity was involved. And in the last part of this, it's to see if releasing particles into the stratosphere could eventually deflect a portion of the sun's energy and lower temperatures on Earth. So we had a denial, now we've got an admittance about what the Gates Foundation is up to in Sweden with SCOPEX. We establish that connection to the Guardian, and we'll look at the author of this article is supported by the SEJ. The SEJ is the Society of Environmental Journalists. The Society of Environmental Journalists was founded in 1990. The membership includes more than 1,500 journalists, environmental journalists we should say, and academics working in every type of news media in the United States, Canada, Mexico and 43 other countries. So when we search their site for cloud seeding, comes up with 3 results. They've been around since the 1990s. They're being featured in the Guardian newspaper as the sponsors of an environmental article to do with weather modification. You would think after 31 years there would be a few articles regarding this subject over the years, and there are 3 in total when you search for cloud seeding, which is what the article is about. The first one, 8 states are seeding clouds to overcome mega drought, is from March the 16th 2021, so that article is 2 weeks old. In that article there is little evidence to show that the process is increasing precipitation. We know this is not true due to what happened in Tasmania when they were asked to explain the cloud seeding the day before flooding. Hydro Tasmania were asked to explain the cloud seeding they've done before flooding. In the state's north, 1 person was killed and another remains missing. So when the Tasmanian authorities are reining in Hydro Tasmania for their weather modification, you could safe to say that it's probably working. Hydro Tasmania stopped their cloud seeding on the day of the floods, the day the lady died, and it did not resume it. Also in the UAE, cloud seeding may have triggered heavy UAE rainfall, and there was a lot of damage to people's properties. This was after drenched UAE residents were left wondering if cloud seeding flights arranged by the National Weather Agency were linked to torrential rains which hit just hours later. Does cloud seeding work? Well, in 2017 the UAE performed 242 cloud seeding operations. Cloud seeding has been carried out in New South Wales, Tasmania, Victoria and Queensland in Australia since the late 1940s, but scientists are unconvinced over its effectiveness and suitability in Australia. So as you know, you would obviously do something for 80 years before you could decide whether it was actually working or not, really. We've had the same situation in Canada, where clearly it's seen as a working technology. Cloud seeders attempt to rescue Hailstorm Alley from storms by reducing size of hail. So examples of a few countries around the world that are just completely convinced that this is a working technology because they're using it. Even if they say they're not sure, they're using it, and they're using it for a lot of decades. So regarding Canada, one of their organisations there, established in 1996, and have 5 cloud seeding airplanes. So there can't be much doubt about whether this is working or not, considering taxpayers' money is spent to do it a lot of the time. Maybe not in Canada. So back to the Society of Environmental Journalists and their huge database of articles that their 1,500 members have to do with weather modification. So the first one, as mentioned, was from March the 16th, 2021. The second one is from March the 10th, 2021. So all these articles are all appearing at the same time. This is not something that's generally covered on the Society of Environmental Journalists website. Very recent articles. The third one was published in January 2019. It was written by someone who's to do with KUNC radio, Kunz Radio. And it turns out Kunz Radio is a community radio for northern Colorado. So I don't know what their global reach is. But there you go. Anyway, it finds itself all the way into the UK mainstream media, into the Guardian newspaper, making it rain. Dipping into the article, we can see that there's a big crisis because the drought level is at 40% in the west of the US. But this is down marginally from 47% in January. So in 2 months, the drought has got 7% better. This is a reason to modify the weather. The drought's getting better. Modify the weather because of the drought. I won't go into too much depth about the actual weather modification side of this article because you'll know it gives basic information about cloud seeding. What's noticeable is what we would call neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and it appears quite often in the article. In the headline, embrace cloud seeding. Try to conquer drought. Try, embrace. These words mean that it's not happening now. In the bullet point headline, but will it work? Because it's not being done now, is it? So you need to ask if it'll work, because nobody knows, because it's not done, is it? Even if small experiments were done recently, which says it works. Further into the article, several states are increasingly embracing a drastic intervention, the modification of the weather to spur more rainfall. Embracing a drastic intervention, so they're embracing it. They're not doing it for decades, say 50 years or something. They're embracing it. It's a new thing. This is 2020, 2021 stuff, isn't it? Clearly. Here we have it again. 8 states have been prompted to look to a form of weather modification. So they're not doing it, they're being prompted to look at it. That's what the article is making clear. Doesn't matter at this moment if you know differently. This is a mainstream media article educating people in the UK about what's happening in the west of America. So clearly, so far, looking into being prompted further on in the article, with drought still a major concern, cloud seeding is an encouraged technology for Wyoming to use based on our drought contingency plan. So it's an encouraged technology. It's a technology that's being encouraged to be used. But it's not in use. They do state in the article things like cloud seeding experiments have taken place since the 1940s, but until recently there was little certainty the method had any positive impact. I think we can prove otherwise with that. It was a proven scientific method in 1947, and it was upscaled and commercialised throughout the 1950s. So according to this Guardian article, Wyoming is looking into getting involved with and starting, maybe considering, weather modification. If we go onto the Wyoming Water Development Office site, so this is an official site, Wyoming Cloud Seeding Activities, the Wyoming Water Development Office became interested in cold season cloud seeding, a form of weather modification, in the early 2000s. The office spent more than 10 years conducting extensive research. Since then, several other studies have been conducted to analyse cloud seeding opportunities across the state, all with positive results indicating seeding is a viable technology. Seeding clouds continues to be proven as a safe and environmentally friendly technology for increasing precipitation in small amounts. Well, we just mentioned about Tasmania, the United Arab Emirates as well, where actually it's proven to not be safe. People die, property gets damaged. Whether it's environmentally friendly or not, that's to be debatable. So you can see the target areas in the Wind River Mountains. The cloud seeding generators are ground generators, and the areas in the south there are plain-based cloud seeding. In the Wind River Mountains, beginning in 2014, aerial seeding over the North Platte Basin. The winter season of 2018-2019 was the first time the state of Wyoming conducted a cloud seeding program. The Wind River Mountains program from 2014 has been the state's longest operational cloud seeding program. So Wyoming has a 6-year operational cloud seeding program, 7 years now. But according to the UK media, they're just getting involved with it. Now the NLP in this article, it's an inexpensive way to help add water to our basins in small, incremental amounts over long periods of time. So it's all very gently, nothing too hectic. I'm pretty sure there'll be people in Tasmania that would disagree. Also in the UAE, also in India for that matter, in Kerala. And again, it's said there are no negative environmental impacts. It's just not true. There are. Of the 8 states, another 4 are mentioned. Utah, Arizona, Colorado and New Mexico. I've covered Colorado in these videos so many times, not going to mention them now. So let's go with Utah are looking to join in. Others are now looking to join in. So they're not doing it, they're joining in with the weather modification. So Utah are going to join in and start weather modification. So if we go onto the Utah Water Resources site from the .gov website, enhancing our water supply, cloud seeding. Utah has been cloud seeding since the early 1950s, and it's had a cloud seeding act, as in legislation, since 1973. There is something seriously wrong with that Guardian article. Next they mention Arizona. So from the University of Arizona in 1992, so 30 years ago, Uni of Arizona has a paper entitled Weather Modification, a Water Resource Strategy to be Researched, Tested Before Tried. And backing up the argument of does it work, Arizona State was therefore interested in a study, winter orographic snowpack augmentation, that claimed an additional 2.3 million acre feet per year could be added to the Colorado River with an extensive Rocky Mountains cloud seeding operation. Sounds like it works. There's also an article from the Civil Engineering Database, Arizona Weather Modification Research Program, that's dated 1970. It says here 1967, randomized seeding of isolated cumulus clouds was the main experiment. So Arizona's involved. New Mexico, in the New Mexico statutes, in 2011, Chapter 75, in the miscellaneous section, Article 3, Weather Control and Cloud Modification. That's legislation to cover weather control and cloud modification, 2011, New Mexico. So what other information is available about New Mexico to do with this weather modification that they're getting involved with? If we look at a report from the National Science Foundation called Weather and Climate Modification, it's a special commission on weather modification. We can see that this report is from 1965, it's a good 55 years ago, and we'll just have a read of this. In 1957, there were few professional people working on scientific aspects of weather modification. As a result of subsequent activities and support of the Foundation and other agencies, there are now involved a number of outstanding groups in universities, government and industry. Among the universities that have groups engaged in research related to cloud physics and weather modification are Arizona, Chicago, Colorado, New Mexico, and also some others mentioned there, Nevada, New York. So from 1957, 3 of the states mentioned in the article that it's claimed that they're just getting involved with it are mentioned there in this report from the National Science Foundation. Of course, there's also the New Mexico Weather Modification Association with 0 funds on its accounts. Back to the Guardian article, what else are they saying? So they're saying cloud seeding doesn't solve the systemic causes of drought and can be tricky to implement. A University of Colorado researcher has said, I don't think cloud seeding will solve the problem, but it can help. If it can't solve it, probably shouldn't do it. This is where this article takes a turn to the completely strange. Remember, this is from a UK perspective. So this would be good for anyone in the US watching this to see how things are being presented to us here. It says here, while states attempt to formulate a response to the growing threat of drought, advocates warn that poorer people and people of colour are most likely to suffer from a water-constrained future. Now this is about Southern California and these drought areas that we're speaking about in America. And a person from Southern California has said the drought has brought ongoing issues for Latino agricultural workers, some of whom have to resort to using irrigation canals for cooking water or for brushing their teeth. So the weather needs to be modified because Latino agricultural workers in California are using irrigation canals to get their cooking water and for brushing their teeth. And something doesn't fit there, does it? Really? Are these Latino homeless people? I mean, where do they live? These agricultural workers that are using irrigation canals for cooking water and brushing their teeth, do they not have homes? This doesn't make sense. Maybe someone from America could clarify this in the comments. Is this really our understanding that agricultural workers that are from the Latin countries in America, where there's droughts which require cloud seeding, weather modification, they don't have homes, these workers, with any water. They have to use irrigation canals to get cooking water and for brushing their teeth. Is this true, is it? I hope someone can answer that. Right, there's just enough time left for the advert break. Coffee. Thanks for watching. See you next time.